Hey, this is Matthew Ricks, and this is the Music Business Newsletter. For those who don't know who I am, I have been in the music industry for over 25 years. Started when I was 16 years old at Jive Records. I've done A&R, I've done management, I've done merchandise, I've done marketing, and since 2014, I have been helping artists all across the world. One way has been with my audio series that you can listen to for free on Apple Music or Spotify called The Matrix Minute. 90 seconds on the music industry. Now we're doing the Music Business Newsletter. And if you have a question on the music industry, it's very simple. Send it to me at MatthewRicks.com. Just click submit your question. You don't have to become a member. You don't have to buy a book. You don't have to join my Patreon. Just go to MatthewRicks.com and click submit your question. Today's email is a good one. This is a newer guy to just creating music. And it's the question, is my music good enough to release? Which I think anybody who deals in the arts, whether you're an artist or you're a writer, you're always second guessing what you do. I know artists who have recorded 10 albums and they're playing in front of 10,000 people a night, that the weekend before their album comes out, man, did I do this right? Man, what if we would have done this differently? I think it's okay to have a healthy awareness of where you're at in your journey of creating art. What it becomes unhealthy is when you won't release it, when you're kind of stuck in neutral. Or what I've seen some artists do, big artists, is they'll go in and erase everything and start over. And you're like, that was good. That was great stuff. And they're like, no, I can do better. So that's a good email. I think that we can help him out. And if you like these emails, click like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you disagree with me or what your opinion is. So let's dive into this email. He says, hey, Matthew, I make pop R&B music, and I've been writing and recording in my bedroom for the last year. So far, I've only posted a few songs on SoundCloud, nothing major, just stuff I made to get my ideas out there. My friends tell me they think that it's good, but I never know if they are just being nice or if it's actually good. Yeah, you run into that problem at times. It's like when I've come up with like ideas, like business ideas or marketing ideas, I'll go to people and be like, what do you think? They're like, oh yeah, that's great. You're like, why? And they're like, because you do everything great. I'm like, that's not what I needed to hear right there. So yeah, I mean, you need to have some friends in your life who are going to always be there to encourage you, because making art, making music, being in the music industry, they'll knock your teeth out, and you need to have that support system. Even now in my life, I got friends that I can call at any time. Some of them are in the music industry, some of them aren't. And I can call them at any time, and we'll talk about sports, or we'll talk about kids, or we'll talk about life, but I know that they're there for me. And then I also have my other friends who will blast me, and they'll be like, hey, you look pretty stupid in that new email newsletter. Why's your face swollen? Love you guys as well. So I think it's good to have those friends, but I also think that your friends can also gas you up. I mean, I know a lot of artists who they will write a song and they'll show their girlfriend, or they'll show their wife, or they'll show their husband. And they're like, oh, baby, that's amazing. And they're like, it's amazing. It's like, well, that's kind of their job. Let's just be real. But anyways, so it's good to have friends who are there to gas you up and to be by your side. So he says, I'm just trying to decide if they're being nice or if it's actually good. That's kind of where I'm stuck right now. I want to start releasing my music on Spotify and Apple Music, but I keep second guessing myself. We'll stop right there. Just to be honest, doing the Matrix minutes. We record a bunch of them at one time, right? So we have one that's coming out this later on this week, and that was recorded in June. And why? Because I sit for months on this stuff, and I'm just like, okay, does this make sense? Is this going to be effective to help the artist? Is it quick enough? Are we getting to the exit ramp quick enough? And to be honest with you, there was a time I had somebody very dear in my life a few years back who completely betrayed me. And it happens, right? And when the betrayal hit and they walked out the door, I kind of lost my mojo to do this. We had events booked in Australia, and I couldn't do it. I was just in my head too much. And I was crippled for a few years. And I did other stuff in the music industry, but that was more behind the curtain stuff. Because every time I would try to do something, I remembered the betrayal. And I lived with that hurt for a while. And it took people in my life who didn't actually even know what I was doing. Like, they're like, what is this that you do? Because they're not in the music industry. To help build me back up. And so if you're stuck because you do want to get this out there and you do want to see what the market says, but you're second guessing yourself, I would love to tell you that this will probably be the only time in your life or in your career in the music industry that you will second guess what you're putting out there, but it won't be the case. You'll second guess yourself repeatedly. You should be second guessing yourself up to the moment that it releases, because that means you care. You know, you don't want to be one of those guys who, I see this a lot with rappers, where they'll record something and then they're just like, yeah, it's great. And they throw it out there. And it's like, did you listen to this after you recorded it? So second guessing yourself is a good thing, because you can go in and fine tune if you need to. But when it becomes a crutch, when it becomes a roadblock, you know, when I had this person betray me years ago, I should have used it as motivation to go and stand up on my own or whatever, but I used it as a crutch for a few years, and that wasn't good. So let's continue with the email. He says, I get excited about a song one day, and then the next day I convince myself it's trash. We all do that. Well, I mean, if you've spent any time listening to interviews with artists, and sometimes like their biggest songs, they're like, oh yeah, that was a holdover from our last album. Or that was one that wasn't even going to make the album. Or this was the last song to be written for the album, or whatever. Like, to live in that place, it's just kind of almost being an artist. Where you're like, this is amazing, and then you sleep on it and you're like, oh, I don't like it. To wake up the next day after you recorded something and want to make changes, perfectly fine. I just keep saying this. But if it becomes a crutch where it hinders you, where it blocks you, where it stops you, that's where the problem comes in. And that's where, like I had to do, is I just had to get back out there. You know, when I've recorded Matrix Minutes from 4 months ago and they're getting ready to release now, I've lived with for 4 months going, is this good? Is this good? And I'm asking my team, is this good? Is this good? And finally it's like, okay, yeah, well, and they're like, stop being annoying. It's fine. So that's perfectly normal as an artist. And also, with this being your first time releasing something on DSPs, yeah, there's a lot more jitters with it. But let's continue. He says, I'm worried about what people will think if it doesn't sound as professional as other artists. Nobody get, like, when we started the Matrix Minute in 2014, we released the first one on December 31st, New Year's Eve in 2013. I texted my boy, John Clark, who was in a band that I had signed, and then the band broke up. And I've been spending way too much time on Twitter, like arguing with artists, telling them, like, don't go storm the Warner Brothers office and give them your demo. You're not going to reach anybody besides a jail cell. And I texted John and I said, I want to do this thing and just put it out there, but I don't know how to edit. So can I send it to you and you can edit? Because I knew John was really good at this stuff. And John, being the good sport he is, he said, yeah. So I sent it to John, and these were like minute long. We weren't even at 90 seconds. We were like 60 seconds. And the quality was so bad. And if you go back, you can listen to the first Matrix Minutes. They're on Spotify. The audio is terrible. Why? Because I sat in my car and I talked into my phone like this. And that's how I recorded the Matrix Minutes for the first year. It was only after the success started happening that I actually bought a microphone. And so I would send these like voice memos to John Clark and have him add music to him and have him like, equalize the levels. And I knew it wasn't as professional as, well, nobody still doesn't do what I do with the Matrix Minute. That's not a brag. I mean, that's more of a challenge to somebody come out there and let's go and start helping more artists. But if you're talking in like the terms of like audiobooks or podcast, really wasn't even that what it was in 2014, what it is today. I was garbage can quality compared to whatever else was out there. I didn't have a studio. I didn't even have a microphone. And I knew it wasn't as professional, but also I believed enough in what I knew on the music industry and where I'd come from being in the music industry that I was hoping that people would get through the terrible audio. And John made as much of a dud into a stud as he possibly could with what he was given. It probably won't sound as professional as, I mean, if you're doing pop music and you're trying to compete with Chris Brown, yeah, well, you don't have $1 million budget, but people know that. And I think in this day and age in music, artists, the industry boobs, they're harder on like your EQ levels and all that. But a normal person who just listens to music, who comes across you on TikTok or Instagram, isn't, I mean, now look, if it's garbage can quality like Matrix Minute 2014, which here's the funny thing is about the Matrix Minute as well. We did like 10 million streams in 2014 on that Matrix Minute with that quality. Because my prayer was answered, and that was that the information would be greater than the quality, or the quality of the recording, not the quality of the information. Realize that it's not. Nobody's expecting, and if anybody is expecting you to have $1 million production quality, they're idiots. And they're not going to like your stuff anyways. So the email goes on to say, so my question is, how do I know if my music is good enough to release? Release it and find out. Because I can guarantee you what you release today, if you release another track in a month or in 3 months, it's going to be better. And then when you release something in 6 months, it's going to be better than the one 3 months ago. It's just the way it goes. So is it good enough to release? Yeah, because there is absolute garbage and trash that's released on Spotify and Apple Music every single day. And if you put a single out there and you promote it properly, don't spend any money, but you promote it on Instagram and TikTok, and if you use Facebook and YouTube, and you're growing your fan base organically, if you're putting something brand new out, if it's your first single, there's nothing to compare it from. Unless you're like, oh, for fans of Pitbull, then yeah, then there's an expectation, but don't do that. Just say, hey, I make pop music. But how do I know if my music is good enough to release? Just release it. The email says, is there a point where you just have to stop overthinking and put it out? Or are there signs that I should wait and keep improving before I release anything officially? I know people in this industry that, someday I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I have friends who one day I'm going to travel to Hawaii. I'm going to Italy one day. They never make it. They never release that song. They never write that book. Because it's always one day, I got to get better. I got to improve this. I need to do this and this and this. Tony Robbins says the road to someday leads to a town called nowhere. So how do you keep improving? Well, you're starting off at 0. Release it. Get better. Release more music. If you're doing something like a DistroKid where you can have unlimited releases in a year, you just pay a monthly or yearly thing, and that's not a plug for DistroKid. You can release as much music as you want. And I think that if you're honest with where you're at, you will see single 1 versus single 6 that you release is going to be greatly improved, because you'll keep growing as an artist as long as you have this humility that you have. And there's a ton of insecurity here, which once again, like I said, every artist has that. But I think the way you improve is by you putting it out there in the market, and you let the market dictate if it's good. And you just keep putting music out there. Not every week, especially when nobody knows who you are. And that's how you improve, is by just growing as an artist. The email continues. I love making music, and I feel like it's what I'm supposed to do. I just don't know when it's time to finally let people hear it for real. No time like the present. If we are going to be committed to having extraordinary lives and to be the people that inspire others to go for it. The other day I was listening to, going back to Matrix Minutes, I was listening to the Matrix Minutes from, I think, 2015. And I've heard this line a few times over the last decade. And every time I hear it, I'm like, ugh, why would I say that? God, it's just a douche line that I said. And I wasn't even thinking. And I wouldn't say that today. You know, like it wasn't nothing bad. You know, it was just stupid line. So how do you know when it's time? Today is the day to conquer your fears, to get out of your head, to throw it out there. You know, and if you got friends who support you, think about it this way. No, you're not going to make a lot of money, but you're showing everybody your song on SoundCloud. You ain't making a dime for that, which you show your friends if it's on Spotify and Apple Music, you might actually make a dime, a literal dime. But to just sit here and wonder when the right time is, it's like one day you're going to get married, you're going to have kids, and you're going to be wondering, is it the right time to get married? Is it the right time to have kids? Is it the right time to buy a house? Or you can always find a million reasons why it's not the right time to do something. But the time to do something is now, because life is just blowing by. And while you're sitting here waiting and wondering when the right time is, your competition, the guy down the street from you, he's going to take your fans. He's going to take the market share. And I don't want you to sit here in 10 years from now still talking about I should have released it. I missed my window, or I went to college, or I got a job and I can't believe I gave up on it. I don't want you to do that. That's a terrible way of living life. The email just ends with, thanks for all your advice you give to artists like me, Bob. Bob, once you release your single, I want you to send it to me go back to the website, MatthewRicks.com. Send me a link because I want to check it out. But thanks for your email. For anybody else who's sitting there overthinking and in your head, just stop overthinking. You know, you stay in your head, you're dead. Get out there, do movement, be an artist. Artist releases music. Some things you're going to release is going to suck. Some things you release is going to be great. But don't sit in neutral wondering when's the right time. The right time is now. The world's waiting to hear from you. If you have a question on the music industry and you want my help, go to MatthewRicks.com. Click submit your question. You don't have to become a member. You don't have to buy anything or join a book club. And if you have any comments on this episode, leave me a comment, like, and subscribe. And until next time, I will talk to you later.